Hi everybody. Today I'm going to be using microfibetts. I'm going to kind of explain some of the methods that tyers use with those today. I'm going to go over a few of the different methods. After I go over each one, I'll kind of stop, explain a few things about it, talk about the patterns that you might be able to use or the fishing styles that you're using for each. Let me just give you a brief glance at these microfibetts. This is a package of microfibetts that I purchased. This is Rumpf. Just a nice yellow color used for some of the common mayflies we have out here in eastern US. Kind of looks like paintbrush. That's really the gist of it. It's a synthetic fiber. They're really nice because whenever you tie these on as tailing fibers, they truly help that fly to float on the surface. All right, let me zoom in here a bit. And so I typically recommend you pulling around 6 fibers. I'm not so fanatical about counting them out, but you're looking for around 6 fibers. And then you'll immediately want to line them up with the shank of the hook. Whenever you line them up, if you're talking about a dry fly and at the adult or that done stage, you're going to want the fibers to go the same length as the shank and about another half. When you get to the spinner phase, then you're going to want to look for about twice as long as the hook shank. So whenever I'm lining these up, I'll simply place them on with the tips extending right to that bend, grab my thumb, stop it at the halfway, and just pull back a little bit more. Then I'm not really too worried about the pinch method here because there's not much that's going to go on. So I simply just tied it in. I let go with my left hand just to double check the length. And if you look at this is somewhere between that 1.5 and 2, which is fine for our purposes here because I just want to show you the placement. Now the issue that a lot of tyers have, if they just stop right at this point and they dub the body, they have a single tail going straight back, which is not really representational of an actual mayfly. So we have a couple different techniques that we use to really get this looking like an actual mayfly when it's on the water. One piece of a mayfly that a lot of fly fishermen notice is that the tail fibers will kick up at times. And that really gives that curvature to the mayfly body in that adult stage. So an easy way to do this is to simply take the thread whenever you get back to your stopping point. I'm going to kind of, with my right hand, pick up the fibers, and then with my left hand, I'm going to kind of helicopter the thread underneath the tailing fibers. And that's it, just with one. And then I'm ready to start dubbing my body forward. Now, I'm going to kind of slide this up. If you look at what happened, the tail fibers have started to separate just a tad. Nothing crazy. There's not true separation going on. There's just a little separation, but they do have a beautiful arc up. So that's one really quick way just to tie on these microfibetts, and it'll really help to improve the profile of your dry fly in the water. I'm going to show you another technique here. Let me reset everything, and then I'll start explaining the second one. All right, I'm ready to show you the second technique. This is a really simple technique, but it's going to use one extra piece of thread. So before you start to tie on your thread to the hook, before you lash it on, you just want to extend the thread just a hair. So you can see I've just extended it. Then I'm going to grab my scissors, and I'm going to cut a piece of thread off. It doesn't have to be anything long, just a simple piece of thread. I'm just going to kind of hold that back for now. All right, then I make my way back to my hook. Let me zoom this back in for you. All right, that should be fine. Get everything set up for your hook. Get your thread placed on. All right, then I go back to my microfibetts. I'm just going to cut again, around 5 of them. Somewhere along that line. Let me trim these. Okay, again, I'm just going to quickly line these up now since you kind of know my format. All right, now, same technique as before. I'm going back. If I want to, whenever I get back here, I can swing underneath them again, do that little helicopter, and it gives it that nice arc. And here's where my thread comes in. So I pick up that little piece of thread that I had originally kind of placed down, and I'm going to show you this from the top so that kind of helps you out a little bit. I'm going to bring the thread up, and now the thread is kind of lashed onto the back of the hook. So I'm going to hold onto the thread with 2 of my fingers. Then I'm going to attempt to separate the tails. So I'm going to just try to get an even amount, around 3 on both sides. Then I'm going to pull the thread up in the middle. Now you want to be careful when you're applying pressure at this point, because some funky things can happen to your tails. But once you get the hang of it, you know you've applied the right amount of pressure. It only requires 1 or 2 locking wraps. I've locked in that thread. I'm going to come back, just grab everything else, just to do a quick trim. And now I'm ready to dub the body, add on a quill, or however you're going to finish this fly. So let me bring my thread up just so you have an idea of what's going on here. And I'll turn this to show you. You can see I have much, much nicer separation than in the first instance. So this required one extra step. It was grabbing some thread and bringing it up through the center, but it really helps to separate these tailing fibers to make it look much more like a natural, especially a spinner, whenever it's on the water, and it really shows that great separation. And again, this is not something you really want to be particular about if you're fishing really fast water. But if you're fishing, closer in the evening, the fish have a little more time to take a look at the fly, that's definitely a really simple technique to use that will give some separation and really help your fly to look like a natural. All right, I'm going to try one more technique for you. I'll explain this last technique. So again, let me reset this hook, and then I'll get this last technique going. All right, for this last technique, again, I'm going to start pretty much like I have before. Just get some thread lashed onto the hook. Get rid of my tag. Left a little thread there. Now I'm going to just wrap straight back to the bend. Go the whole way back. So I've just coated it. I've coated the top. And whenever I get back to around the bend, I think I might just back off one. And I'm pretty much, my thread is hanging right where my barb would be. I'm using a barbless, so you're not going to see the barb here in this shot. I'm just going to grab a little piece of dubbing. You'll use whatever dubbing you're going to be dubbing the body with. I'm just going to create this little thing that we're going to call a dubbing ball. That's what the common technique, or the common name of this is called whenever you're using microfibettes. So make a little dubbing ball, and it's nothing crazy at all, just a couple turns, and that's it. Now you can see I probably overdid it with the dubbing, and probably not the right dubbing for this technique, so I do apologize, but we'll just pretend this is going to be the dubbing I'm dubbing my dry fly with. Now I'm going to go back to my microfibettes. I'm going to cut, again, around five or six of them, somewhere in that range. I probably go just a hair excessive whenever I'm using microfibettes, but I do want to ensure that they're going to really help this fly to float. And now I'm going to line these up, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that ball to help separate them. So I'm going to be setting them on top. Again, let me go the distance I'm looking for, somewhere in here. And then I'm just going to lock them in with a couple wraps. You can see right away they're arching up. So I'll just stop tying for a moment. You can see there's that arch that I was looking for, and that was really simple to accomplish by using the helicopter in that first technique I showed you. But what's nice about this dubbing ball is as you wrap back just a little bit closer to the back of the thread, the dubbing ball will help to separate those microfibettes. So it makes it really slick for you. So now my microfibettes got separated. I'm just going to trim them closer to the front, these butt sections. Get those just out of your way for a second. And at this point, if I pull a little tighter with my thread, you can see those wings begin to shoot up. Sometimes simply by pulling down, applying a little more thread tension, that's more than enough to raise those tails up. Another little easy technique is go back to that first helicopter, where after I'm back to the dubbing ball as far as I want, I'm simply going to grab those tailing fibers, lift them up, helicopter around the back again, and then put one more wrap in just to ensure that they're separated, which, as you can tell, they definitely are. Then at this point, you already have that dubbing started. You can simply complete the dubbing, dub up the rest of your body, and then finish it with whatever style hackle or whatever style front you're going to choose to on this fly. This is the third technique. This is, I guess, we call this the dubbing ball technique, because you use that ball to help separate those tailing fibers. It's a really simple technique, especially if you're going to be dubbing, because then you've kind of already started that. You don't have to worry about the thread, adding that extra piece on. Again, this, from my personal perspective, I really go with the first. I truly like the helicopter technique, just to lift the fibers a little bit. That's really what I shoot for whenever I'm, whenever I'm tying on these microfibettes. But this gives you a little bit to play around with. Feel free to Just see what you like. If you have any other little tips or techniques you'd like to share, please mention them on this YouTube channel down below in the comments. Well, as always, I really do appreciate all the comments and all the feedback. I hope these little tips helped you out, and thanks for everything. If you have any questions specifically, you're more than welcome to email me at tcammisa@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody.